The second round of the tournament, all four teams that we've seen so far within this tournament have Ace and Emu, definitely the most two popular leaders of this tournament. Here it is. Here's the test. I have to try to say all of the Emu names correctly. That's going to be difficult. If you're looking for high-quality one-piece TCG accessories, Riley TCG's got you covered. With a wide variety of playmats and designs in non-stitched, extended stitch, simple cloth, premium cloth, as well as 1- and 2-player mats, they've also got a great selection of standard, deluxe, and premium deck boxes for your favorite deck. If you want to bring your own ideas to life in designs, they've also got custom design options for both playmats and deck boxes that you can order. Also supplying sleeves on their website. They've got 10-pack sleeves, 60-pack sleeves, 120 if you want to sleeve all your decks in this style. You can save 5% off your order just by using code Atrocious at checkout. You can get some high quality products, help support the channel, so everybody wins with this stuff. Thank you again to Riley TCG for sponsoring this video, and let's get back to it, shall we? This is going to be the Emu mirror match. Chat, if you do not know, Emu, by the rules of the game, cannot play any events that cost 2 or more. And at the start of the game, before you put out your starting hand, before you put out your Dawn, your life, you can search out a stage card with the Holy Land Mary Joa type from the deck. So both players doing that right now. Player on the right side is going to be grabbing, both players going to be grabbing the 1-cost stage, Mary Joa, as they go in their starting hand. Emu, a 4-life, 5,000 power leader, also has an activate main once per turn. You may trash one of your Celestial Dragon type characters in play or 1 card from hand. Draw 1 card. Debatably one of the best decks in format, right? Especially being introduced into OP13. Really goes in with the combo of trying to get out the 5 Elders. The 5 Elders being a huge combo for the deck to get a bunch of extra effects, as well as just 5 bodies on the board on a single play. Going to be really interesting to see how this mirror plays out, right? Because especially if you want to play Emu in OP13, you're going to need to know how to play it. The player on the right side having a little bit of the different tech cards that we see sometimes in Emu with that 2K Shirahoshi 1-drop. We'll see if he decides to play it on the field. Also got another 2K in the Celestial Dragon. Has some searchers to be able to utilize within the game. The player on the right side having a little bit of text of their own in the 1-drop Vivi, right? Activating as a blocker later in the game, as well as some of the Elders in hand and the 10-cost Gorosen. Mary Schwa. That's how I'm going to say it, Mary Schwa. And I blame you if it's wrong, chat. Looks like the player on the right side going first in this match does have those 1-drop searcher events to be able to utilize at the beginning of the game. Is going to definitely bode well for him, especially to not only build up the trash, but be able to find some key pieces of the puzzle in those top 3s. Going to be moving off now into this event, and so going off and starting first is going to go ahead, do the 1-drop event, go in and look at the top 3 off of the 5 Elder Stars are here. So is going to be looking around, does have a couple different options. We'll see which one he picks, as most everything is grabbable in this. Looks like he is going to be grabbing Jupiter. Saying Jupiter on the side, and is going to be using leader effect. Emu being able to use that leader effect is going to go ahead and trash what I believe was Mars, the Saint Marcus Mars, off of that to draw 1 card, filter out the hand, build up the trash. Now has 4 cards in trash off of the first turn of the game. So now the player on the left side doesn't necessarily have the same strength in a sense in terms of the amount of searches, but I think has the 1-drop searcher as part of it, but no, does not. Just goes ahead and uses leader effect to get rid of the Baron Nazujuro and puts down the Vivi preemptively. The Vivi doesn't have blocker yet. You need to have a specific amount of cards in trash 10 to be exact if you do not know, from OP05, has not really had any limelight until this deck, right? Maybe had a spurt or two in Rob Lucci leading up to this. The player on the right side starting out his turn with going ahead and swinging is going to go ahead and rest 3 in total, it looks like, but maybe not, maybe opting for something else through this, especially with the 1 cost. Mary Schwa in there is going to be able to have a cost 2 or more. Celestial Dragon, cost 1 less, is going to play out that 4-drop. Which one is it? It's the Saturn, right? The Saturn on there to look at the top 5 and find an Elder Stars type card and add it to the hand. And so thinking about what he's got in trash, what pieces he needs, is looking at grabbing just another Nazujuro in there. So is going to go ahead, grab that guy onto the field. He is a 1K counter and is the Elder that does gain rush at a certain point. So maybe thinking about later in the game to be able to get that rush online as early as possible and get the when attacking effect of -2,000 on one of the player on the left's characters to control the board later. Is thinking about what card to utilize, I think, for the leader effect, and is going to go ahead and utilize the 1-drop searcher event, actually. Kind of surprising, in my opinion, that he would opt to use that for the effect, right? But I think that this deck just naturally building up the trash pretty easily. You're not really worried about getting to 10, right? Which is where a lot of the, or 7, where a lot of the elders get their extra effects. The player on the left side is going to go ahead, start out the turn once again with pitching a Jupiter, and now going ahead swinging 5 at lead. Does have 4 Dawn open, could utilize for the 4-cost Elder like he did earlier, resting 3 for it because of the Mary Schwa event, and is just going to mirror his opponent on the other side, going ahead doing a search for one of the 5 Elders. So it looks like has a couple options, cannot grab that Vivi, but can go ahead, just like his opponent, find the Nazujuro. Oh, Nazujuro is Venus, thank you. Thank you. Maybe should I call him Venus, chat, or should I call him Nazujuro? I don't have the hiragana in front of me. It's a little hard to read from here. And so the player on the right side, starting out the turn, looks like going to be swinging 5 at lead, just trying to bait out a card or a life from this left side. Being a 4-life leader, got to be cautious about how many 5K pokes that you take within this game, and is just going to go ahead and use the 1-cost counter event. The world's equilibrium cannot be maintained forever, right? Is going to give his leader plus 3,000 power to be able to get out of that swing. Looks like the player on the right side did grab one of the 1-drop searchers, may try to utilize that in the turn, but uses the leader effect to get rid of his own equilibrium event card to find another. So is going to start out with that Mary Schwa to cheat out the, I forget his name, Nazujuro, or Venus, I think it was that chat told me. Venus Juro? Venus is the better shorthand. I'll go with Venus. And with the Venus, does not go for the rush, but just has him out on the field right now. Maybe thinking about playing that 7-drop Peter in the next turn. Jupiter? Yeah, Jupiter. So player on the left side now is going to go in. Did pitch 1 Jupiter earlier, but may go ahead and play 1 now that he's at 6. Especially with the Jupiter, if you've got enough built-in trash, which he does not actually have enough built-in trash. He has not had a great game building up the trash up to this point. I think advantage maybe leaning a little bit more towards the right side of the field. May just be nice to go ahead and establish at this point, just to keep up pace, but is thinking about resting 3 instead. Maybe thinking about doing another one of these searches, but no, starts out with leader effect, pitches the Vivi in hand to draw 1 card, now at 4 in the trash. Is going to go ahead with that Elder that I mentioned earlier, the Saturn, to go in and look at the top 5 yet again. is going to go ahead, just grab another Saturn, right? Especially as a 4-cost searcher. It does have the ability to grab himself as long as he is an Elder Star, and could just go ahead and play back-to-back turns of getting a Saturn on the field right now, especially because the Mary Joie does not have a once per turn effect on that stage. Is going to be nice to just play out more bodies onto the field, especially, and be very efficient with the Dawn. But first, the player on the right side has to think about this 5K swing. No Dawn open at this point, but does have some counter in hand. Is going to go ahead with that 2-cost Celestial Dragon right there on the counter, and then going ahead playing that Saturn. Like I mentioned, man, I got to memorize these guys' planet names. And so on this search, is just going to grab the 4th Saturn. So is just going to find all of the Saturns within his deck right now. You can only run 4 of a card in the One Piece trading card game unless it says otherwise. So at least the player on the right side now, as it passes on to his turn, knows that, well, he's not going to find any more after this. And interestingly enough, both players being very passive with their characters in this gameplay and does not want to get any swings in at this point. The player on both sides just leaving their characters as active. So we'll see now as we're getting to the later stages of the Dawn, the player on the right side at 7 in total. We'll see what he decides to play out on this turn. So on that 5K swing is going to counter out of the Saturn right there. That Elder with a nice 1K counter on it. Starts out with the 1-cost searcher that came in OP13. It's a Saint Shalria. Say that 5 times fast. Is going to be able to look at that top 3 and grab a Celestial Dragon card outside of the Saint Shalria and put it in hand. But one thing that you have to do after you grab a card is you have to go ahead and pitch a card from hand. So is a nice way to build up the trash within this deck as he's thinking about what he should get rid of. So it looks like he's going to be getting rid of one of these Equilibrium events. And so is going to use that leader effect on the Saint Shalria to go ahead and draw 1 card off the leader effect, putting that character in the bin. And thinking about the amount of cards in trash, he has to have over 7 at this point for sure. So is going to be able to play that 7-drop Jupiter down onto the field. And now at this point, right, all of his Elders are going to be a base power of 7,000 power or more on his turn. So if he wants to go in and start swinging 7, he can at this point, and is going to start doing exactly that. Is going to go 7,000 power at lead, be on the offensive now as the Emu on the left side takes the first life. Is maybe thinking about swinging with the other one, the bald guy, the Nazujuro, or Venus, I think, as you all were saying. On that, when attacking, you do get to minus 2,000 power to one of your opponent's characters. Not really mattering at this point, especially because Vivi is not a blocker as of yet. And the Emu on the left side just going to be taking this life. Does find a 10-drop Gorosen, which is going to be nice, especially as I think he's going on to 8 Dawn now. Cannot play that Gorosen as of yet, but is going to be very nice to maybe get out some cards of his own to be able to utilize for the offensive side, especially because you have so many Saturns on the field. I believe that guy is called. Is it Saturn? I'm like quizzing myself at this point. Yes, Saturn. Finding all 4 of his searchers. So what do you do at this point if you're the player on the left side? I feel like player on the right side having a little bit of advantage at this point, just being able to build up the trash. Is going to go ahead with a Saint Shalria of his own. So going in with this 3 is going to grab the 2K that he's got, the Saint Majosgard. I don't know how to say that. Oh, dang. I was trying to read that real quick. But anyways, ends up using leader effect on the Saint Shalria to draw 1 card after trashing one of the Elders. Is going to have enough in there to be able to activate different effects, and now swings 5 at this rested character right here, this Venus. So now is going to go ahead, control the board a little bit, right? Try to get rid of these characters. Counters 2k out of that first swing. So it's thinking about maybe swinging with the rest of the board that he's got before playing out any of these characters. Just looking at the amount of 2Ks and maybe counter events. So now taking another swing at this Venus. I think Venus is probably the most dangerous out of the ones on the field. Like, sure, the Jupiter does give 7,000 power base to all of the characters, but especially with the power swap on this Venus, you want to get rid of it as soon as possible. So that is him going down right there. Is now going to swing at the opposing Saturn right now, just trying to get rid of all the characters on board. And this might be a part where we start to see a little bit of stabilization for the player on the left side as he gets rid of that character. Only 5 cards in hand over on the right side, where the player on the left has almost upwards of, I think, 8 or so in hand. Might be trying to play out some of these other blockers and or searchers that he's got in the hand, right? The St. Topman Valkyrie, one that we haven't seen hit the field yet, but the 4th Saturn has now hit the field. Going to be searching through that top 5, is going to find the 1-drop. Originally, it wasn't their counter event, right, to be able to give Emu or one of your characters plus 4,000 power. Miosgard, okay. Miosgard, that's what that guy's name was. I'll try to remember that. And so with 4 Dawned still left, is thinking about attaching 2 and now swinging 7 at lead, getting a little bit more of the offensive. Does he have one of the 2-drop blockers in hand? Might just leave 2 up for the counter events that he's got, but player on the right side now having to think about this 7,000 power swing. Is going to go ahead, take that life, put it into the hand. Now maybe a 1 on the playing over the Saturn, is maybe going in with the 2-drop blocker, is going to mill 1 card from the top of the deck. A lot of people, especially when Emu was first revealed, playing the 2-drop Cobra blocker. This Celestial Dragon absolutely replacing him, getting the same type of treatment, right, with that on play of milling 1 card. Now the player on the left side, having more than 10 cards in the trash, is going to be able to do whatever he wants at this point. So player on the right side now at 9 is going to use leader effect to get rid of one of the Gorosen in his hand. Not going to be able to play that, I believe. Is a Celestial Dragon, so could play that out on the field, right, because of your stage that you have, but you wouldn't be able to use the 5 Elder Stars effect on that activate main to get all of your Elder Stars out, just simply because you don't have the ability to right now, right? Because you have to have 1 Dawn to be able to use that effect. So starting out swinging 5 at Saturn, I think, is going to go ahead with the Vivi block. Does not want to give up any of these characters on the field. Does have the Jupiter right now, so the Jupiter is going to be 7,000 power base. Is going to go ahead, swing at one of these Saturns, or maybe just going at lead. Either way is going to prompt the 2-drop block. And now here's where cards start getting played down. We've got a Saturn on the right side, looking at that top 5, trying to find a piece of the puzzle. Maybe, honestly, a blocker, maybe a removal card. Definitely has built up the trash to what he wants. Is going to go ahead, find the Venus. The Venus going to be very nice to maybe clear out one of these Saturns on the field and control the board. Or maybe at this point, do you just always go for life if you're like going in with the Venus? Because players now are just going to be going for Gorosen, right? The 10 drops to put out onto the field. So are you really worried about clearing board? I guess it would minimize the amount of swings that you take in the next turn, right? Because every body that you leave up means that they're going to swing at you before the Gorosen really goes in and gets played. But is thinking about grabbing right here the Mars. The Mars, not one of the cards that we've seen the player on the right side really gather at this point. Oh yeah, that's right. He can't even use a removal card because they all have protection effects. I completely forgot about that. Oh, Warcry is Warcury. I got a lot to learn, 619, the game. I got a lot to learn with the mirror match. So now passing off to the player on the left side. That 4-drop is a blocker out onto the field with that on KO effect of drawing 1 card, right? The Warcry, I think is what his name is going to go ahead, start out swinging 5, just taking a bunch of 5Ks at this Jupiter that we've got on the field. Counters out of 1, counters out of another, only 4 cards in hand. Looks like the resource war at least going pretty well for the player on the right side after taking life very early comparatively to the player on the right side. So I think trying to think about if he wants to block or if he wants to counter out. So is thinking about a Shirahoshi right here. Is thinking about countering out with the Shirahoshi. It is a 2K. So getting rid of a 2K is definitely hurtful in your hand, but you don't really have many other options outside of 2Ks. So ends up letting that KO go right there. Potentially is going to go ahead and do that, not opting for the block as of yet. Now Emu just swinging 5 at lead, fulfilling the 5,000 power swings. Gotta imagine now at 10 Dawn that the 5 Elder 10 cost is going to be put out onto the field. But first, utilizing leader effect to draw 1 card, get rid of one of these Saturns, especially now resting 9 for the 10 drop. The Goro-sen is going to be able to use that activate main, resting 1 Dawn and trashing 1 from hand to play each one of the 5 Elders on the field after you clear your entire board. So is going to be thinking about which card he wants to get rid of. The least valuable card is going to be another one of those 10 drops. So opting for that. And now going in, playing each one of the 5 Elders onto the field. You get all of those effects as well, right? The Saturn Search. That's the 5th Saturn Search of the game for this player on the left side. And I think he's thinking about grabbing one of these Searcher events, right? We saw the Empty Throne and I think 2 other of the 1-drop Searcher events going in here. Now is going to be able to do that rush, right? You don't get the on KO effect because if you do not remember, they all have the protection effect on them in the mirror match, but you still get to go ahead and swing 7,000 power. And so the player on the right side opting for the block and draw 1 card does find a Saint Salria, say that 5 times fast, and passes off the turn, moves on to the player on the right side. So you gotta imagine that a Goro-sen for him is going to be coming as well on this turn. It's not going to be able to clear board, but is going to be able to get a little bit of pokes going onto at least the Venus. I'm trying to memorize. Nazujuro? I think that's Venus Juro, right? So anyways, going in with that 5K swing is going to go ahead, prompt a 1K counter. Use this leader effect to draw 1 card. I would imagine that you swing this other Saturn, right? Before you go in, try to get rid of this guy. But once again, just feeding a card into the hand. Now resting 9 is going to go ahead with the Goro-sen. So utilizing that effect with the final Dawn, pitching a card in hand is going to get rid of the it wasn't their 1 cost event to be able to play out his own set of 5 Elders. So after getting these guys out onto the field, similar to the player on the left side, is going to be able to search with that Saturn to find a piece. I wonder if you're trying to find like a 10 drop right now, but I think he's maybe pitched 1 or 2 10 drops already. I know he's definitely pitched 1 before he played out the one on this turn. So opting for another Saturn right here, going to put that in hand, is at least going to be a 1K counter. And now is thinking about swinging this Venus. So going ahead with the Venus, we'll see. It looks like he's swinging at the opposing Venus right now, going minus 2,000. So using that block is going to be able to draw 1 card. And now going to go ahead, swing 5,000 power at the Venus. Is going to go ahead, block with the other one. So this other blocker that they have onto the field looks like going to block and counter out of the swing. So is going to counter out his other Venus that he's got to be able to save that blocker. Just try to get an extra swing in at this point, right? Because it's going to be all about the resource game. Now, who can go the longest without running out of resources? That's going to be the name of the game right now. We see another blocker in hand, another set of blockers, really, for the player on the left side. So starts out with the Venus, is going to go ahead into the opposing Venus and minusing 2,000 power there, putting it to 3,000 power. Is just going to let it go first, not opting for either of the two blockers that they have. And now here come the 5K swings. Remember that your 5 elders only are 7,000 power base during your turn. So with this 7,000 power swing coming from the Saturn now going to lead, you have a lot to think about on these swings, how you want to block, how you want to counter, and opts for the first swing to go 2K, 1K to get up to 8. And so now utilizing the leader effect, maybe try to look for a Gorosen at this point to be able to utilize on the top. Does not find it. Now uses that 1-drop searcher event. You kind of like to see that if you're the player on the right side, because that means that the Gorosen's not going to come out now at this point. And now opting for the 2K, or I'm sorry, this is the 2-drop blocker that he grabbed off of there and putting the Vivi and Gorosen into the trash off that search. Now, though, even though a Gorosen is not going to come down on the field, there's still plenty of things that can come down onto the field with the rest of the 9 Dawn in this turn, whether you want to attach the Dawn or play out different characters, leave some up for counter events and of the sort. So on that 7K swing is going to take that life. Still one more 7K swing to go, but this being the blocker. So is going to go ahead and take that swing beyond the aggressive. We'll see how he counters out of this one. There is a Rayleigh on one of these teams right now, Grass Dog. There's 2 Rayleighs in top cut. So is going to go ahead, counter out 2K, 1K once again on the swing. Still has the Emu, and the Emu now swinging 7,000 power, opting not to block with either of his blockers, keep them up, taking the final life. The player on the left side is going to go ahead, play that 2-drop blocker and the 4-drop blocker onto the field, leaving 3 active. We know that he has 1 counter event in hand, 2 counter events in hand. So looking good on the counter, not afraid of dying anytime soon. Did not use his leader effect yet. Drew the empty throne for turn, my apologies. Now using the empty throne for your leader effect for turn. Actually the perfect card to utilize for your leader effect. So now looking at the hand, does have another one of the rushers in the Venus, which could be good, and a blocker on top of that. Plus, especially with Saturn, might be able to do some searching to be able to grab another piece that you maybe want to utilize. Also, Made in Heaven, Club Made, and Rexter. Hopefully I pronounced that right. Thank you so much for following on Twitch. Is going to start out this player on the right side, maybe thinking about swinging 7,000 power with his Saturn before he does anything. Yeah, getting pretty close to time. This game been going on for a hot minute. I feel like up to this point, about 1.5 minutes left in this game before we get to the extra time. A lot of times I feel like that's kind of what it goes to with the Emu mirror matches, especially as a resource war. So starting out now, swinging 7,000 power over at lead. Is going to go ahead, take that last life, is not worried at all at this point. So less than a minute left of this match. Full 10 Dawn is going to swing another 7,000 power at lead with the Jupiter. Is, I think, just trying to maybe call his bluff on these events. Is going to go ahead 2K, 1K. To get out of that swing, getting rid of one of his blocker 1Ks, which I thought was kind of interesting, but especially with a handful of 2Ks in hand, that being his only 1K in hand. Plenty of counter right now. So is going to swing 7,000 power lead. The block goes. Now players just about hitting overtime any second now. The judges should inform them. I think informing him right now. But anyways, swinging 8,000 power now. Is going to go ahead, use the 1 cost event It was never there to go to 9,000 power, get out of that swing. Now swinging 8,000 power with leader. So blocks out of that one to draw one card with the on KO effect. Is now going to go ahead with another Venus and swing 8,000 power. The It Was Never There, getting out of that one. And I think kind of conceding to the player on the left. Player on the left is going to go ahead and win this one in this match. The mirror match, definitely a grind, I will say, and definitely a resource war. Taking those life early, right? And even though it looked a little tough for him, especially building up the trash a little bit slow, was just patient within the game, kind of waited out his time, and him and his team were able to move on into the next round of this tournament. A great, excellent game, I will say, and definitely one that you need to study if you're going in to OP13 wanting to play Emu, whether that's in the East or the West.